What about Basra? You said you were going to make that announcement to the Houses of Parliament, and you made it in the middle of the Conservative Party conference.
No, I didn't.
Brought forward a visit that was going to be later.
No, I'm making a statement on Iraq on Monday. I said when I was in America that I would make a statement when Parliament returned. I had to go to Basra, and indeed to Baghdad as well, to see for myself on the ground. And I think people would have found it very strange if I'd made a statement on Iraq without having had the chance to see on the ground what was happening.
If I may say, they found it pretty strange that you announced the withdrawal of 1,000 British troops in the middle of the Conservative Party conference.
I've just got to tell you that the announcements on Monday are not simply about what's happening by Christmas. They're about the longer term. And the statement in the House on Monday is far more comprehensive than what is to happen over the next few weeks, and therefore it's a very.
So it's going to be substantially different from what you said in Basra.
It's a comprehensive statement about both security, political reconciliation, economic reconstruction, and there are other aspects of what we can do to improve both the security of our military forces and those who help us on the ground in Basra. So it's a pretty full statement, and one that I promised.
You know the criticism that will be made. You were talking about a new politics, a fresh start, not doing things the old way, and yet people look back over the events of the last couple of weeks and says it is the old politics. It's leaks and spin, and then this journey to Basra to destabilise the Conservatives. It hasn't worked. It's gone very badly, but it's the old politics.
No, Andrew, I've been listening to the people of this country. I mean, the one complaint I think that people had, and we have to listen to this, is that people want to be involved, they want to be engaged, they want to be consulted. I've tried, since I became Prime Minister, to reach out and to bring in people of all political persuasions, and I've done so over the summer months and will continue to do so, because I don't believe there's a monopoly of truth. I believe you've got to draw on people who've got something to offer. And equally, I've created citizens' juries around the country. So what we do is we listen to, we involve and engage people in the making and discussion of decisions. And that is the new politics. And I believe people will see that the results of listening and involving, engaging people are new policies.
Are you worried at any level that you don't have your own personal mandate from the country? It's the kind of thing that you're going to hear from the opposition parties and many other people now for a long time.
Look, we are not a presidential system of government. Mandates go to political parties who fight elections, and the leaders are answerable to the House of Commons. So it's a very, very different system. And, you know, half the Prime Ministers, I think, in the last century came into office during the period of government. And, of course, I don't think there's any instance of them going immediately to the country either. And I think we've got to accept that this is a parliamentary system of government. It's not a presidential system. And I don't want it to be a presidential system of government either.
But just on that, when you became Prime Minister, you did talk about there being a great change. There was going to be a change in the change in the direction, all the rest of it. So if there's a change, people say, the country should have a chance to vote on that change.
But we are making changes, and the changes we're making have just begun. And as I said, the summer...
But the people don't get a vote on it. The other thing that people want to vote on, as you know very well, you said you were listening to the people. 80% of people want to vote on the European Treaty. Are you going to let them have one?
Well, I've said before, you know, if this was about the euro, we'd have a referendum. If this was the old proposal, we'd have a referendum.
90% of the old
constitution.
But,
you know, I said before we went to Brussels, and Tony Blair and I talked about this, and we said publicly, if we achieved our red lines, then we could not honestly say this was fundamental constitutional change. And therefore, we could not honestly recommend to people that it was a referendum that should follow from it. Now, I've got now to make sure that these red lines are implemented in practice. So I've got to go to Brussels both in October and December and ensure that in detail we've achieved our aim, which is to remove the prospect that there are fundamental constitutional changes as a result of this amending treaty. And so we've got a protocol, we've got an opt-in, we've got an emergency break in some areas. Now, if I can show that, then let Parliament and let the country be a judge of that, but let them see whether I've achieved my aims, and then we can have a further debate on it.
So there is a possibility of a referendum, depending what comes out of this negotiation?
Well, I've been absolutely clear. If we do not achieve our red lines, then I would veto the
So
treaty.
there won't be a referendum because you'll have vetoed it anyway.
But if I came back and had not achieved my red lines and for some reason decided that...
Unlikely, but...
Yeah, but there it is. You know, I'm...
All right. Can I just ask you directly about the last week, 2 weeks? Do you accept, at least, that they've been bad for you?
I accept there's been a lot of speculation, but you know, it is the party conference season, and there's bound to be speculation, there's bound to be debate. As I say, I think I had a duty to consider it. So, you know, I looked at what people were saying, I listened to what even opposition parties as well as our own party was saying. Our marginal seat candidates were very keen to fight an election, but I had to make a decision at the end of the day.
Conservatives are 6 points ahead in those seats.
Well,
if they were keen, they're a strange bunch of people.
But you're now telling me the Conservatives are pleased that there's no election, so they must have been worried. Look, the issue is, for the future, not that. It's not all this froth and speculation and 2 weeks of party conferences. It's when you get back to governing, have you got a vision for the future of the country? And we have. Can we show people we can implement it? Yes, we will. Of course, the summer has been about other things because we've had to deal with crises. In the autumn, we move to this next phase, and I think we'll show people how we're making the changes.
And when you hear the former Prime Minister, John Major, saying that you're showing that you're not a conviction politician, this has been a period of spin and cynicism, and you've been marching to the drumbeat of an election, not to the drumbeat of proper, decent government, is there no part of you that has a little prickle of conscience, thinks, well, maybe he's got a point?
No, I think he's completely wrong. The question I asked myself in the end was a more fundamental one. Why am I in public life? What am I here to do? And I feel I have a duty to set out my vision for the future. This is the next stage of the Premiership.
And just to be clear, because everybody out there is going to say it, you look at the opinion polls and you think, yikes, I just can't do this.
We would win an election, in my view, whether we had it today, next week or weeks after, because when the debate is joined, people will ask themselves, which is the party that can ensure stability? Who can you trust with the economy? Who is going to build up and give the personal service that people want from public services? Who can deal with terrorism? Now, these are the issues that people...
You're going to recover from this week?
These are the things that people will consider.
And no election for a long time to come?
I think it's very unlikely, as we said, that this will happen in the next period. I think the important thing is we get on with the business of change in this country, because people do want change, and I'm responding to that demand for change.
Prime Minister, thank you very much. That was Gordon Brown with me yesterday.